Rick, did you get my email? I did not receive an email for the 7 o'clock meeting.
You did?
I did not.
Oh, this is the 7 o'clock. You should have gotten one though for the closed session for 6 o'clock. You did not?
Well, this says 6 o'clock.
I think what he means is the closed session that's only for board members.
Okay,
Right. There should have been one addressed to you that said just closed session.
And it's from Rick.
all right, I'll look. Okay, I see one. All right.
So when we're done with the intro here, then we will close down here and I will open that other one that I host.
Rick, I'm not sure if I got a second email also for the other meeting. I got, I think, two emails from you today. One saying that you were having a problem with getting them through, and then I got the one for this meeting.
Mike, I'll send you the one I just found.
Hey, we'll wait another minute. I have 5 after 6. Is that about the right time that other folks have?
I have 2 minutes after 6.
Okay, I'll wait another.
Yeah, 2 minutes here.
Thank you. Sorry, I've got so many time devices, and the only one I really trust is my iPhone, to be completely honest.
But don't trust your iPhone for weather.
Oh, hi, Rochelle. Okay. I think we now have a full complement of panelists for the special meeting. So I will go ahead and open the meeting. It is Thursday, November 11th, and I am Board President Sylvia Hassai of the KPPCSD Board, and I am going to call our special meeting to order today. I'd like to ask the clerk if she could please take the roll.
Director Steffi.
Here.
Director Logan.
Here.
Vice President Natoli.
Here.
Director Sheriff Watt.
Here.
And President Hassai.
Here. So I will repeat this at our next meeting, but first of all, happy Veterans Day. We are all grateful for the service of veterans today, and sorry that we have to meet on this holiday, but we thought it best to continue with our business. Our first item is going to be to allow public comment for any items on this agenda, so that's the purpose of the public comments at a special meeting. I will see if there are any attendees who wish to speak. And I do not see any hands raised. So we'll move on to our next item, which is the teleconferencing of meetings during the current state of emergency. And the recommended action is to adopt a resolution, which our general counsel Ann Danforth will introduce again. I think we're getting familiar with this, but go ahead, Ann, and just give us a quick brief intro.
Yes, as I suspect you all recall, the most recent legislation dealing with the Brown Act and the COVID crisis has provided that any legislative body of a board can continue to meet remotely under the circumstances that we've been doing it, provided that every 30 days they revisit the circumstances of the state of emergency and confirm that they still believe that it's required. There are two criteria that they should find in order to decide that it's required. The first would be that a state or local agency continues to recommend measures for social distancing and the like. And the other would be that the board believes that there would be a threat to health if they were to meet in person. I believe that you have sufficient evidence in front of you to make either or both findings, and would therefore recommend that you adopt the resolution that allows your board to continue meeting remotely for the next 30 days.
Thank you. I will just see if there's any public comment on this item. I do not see any. Do any board members wish to make any comments or ask any questions? Okay, then I would like to make a motion that the board adopt the resolution determining that the current circumstances continue to warrant holding meetings by teleconference.
I'll second.
Can you take the roll, please?
Your Directors Debbie,
Yes.
Logan,
Yes.
Vice President Natoli,
Yes,
Director Sheriff Watt,
Yes.
and President Hussai.
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. Okay, and at this time, we're going to be adjourning to closed session. So this, I believe, is the link that we will come back to. Am I correct? For the
Right.
Regular meeting at 7 p.m. And at that time, we'll report out from the closed session. So thank you, and we'll see you back at 7. And the board will jump to a different link.
Recording in progress.
challenge. Do this with me.
going to ask for. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I am KPPCSD Board President Sylvia Hassai, and I'd like to welcome you to our regular meeting on Thursday, November 11th. In recognition of Veterans Day, I do want to wish everybody a happy Veterans Day, especially give thanks to those who served or have family members who have served or are serving. I am going to ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Director Steffi,
Here.
Director Logan,
Here.
Vice President Natoli,
Here.
Director Sheriff Watt,
Here.
and President Hassai.
Here. So the first item for us will be our consent calendar and public comment. So since there are many folks here who I know have not potentially attended a board member, I'm just going to read how this works. All matters on the consent calendar are considered routine and are approved by one motion and vote unless a board member or the general manager first requests that a matter be removed for separate discussion and action. Individuals wishing to address the board of directors concerning the consent calendar items or matters that are not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments for up to 3 minutes. Please raise your hand via Zoom, and when you are called on by me, you will be unmuted and can address the board. Please state your name if you don't mind. Clearly for the record, it's not required, but it does help us with our minutes and recording. And please address your comments to the board of directors and not to staff or the audience. By state law, the board is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on any item not appearing on our posted agenda. If you have documentation you would like distributed to the board, you of course are welcome to mail or email it to us, as well as to the clerk of the board at 917 Arlington Avenue, Kensington 94707. And her email address is on our agenda as well. So first, I would like to ask if anybody has anything to pull off the consent calendar from the board or from the general manager. Okay. Now I will go to public comment for items on the consent calendar or items that are not on the agenda. Please raise your hand via Zoom if you wish to make a comment in that regard. Okay, Anthony Knight, I'm going to unmute you, and you should be able to unmute yourself and go ahead, and please be cognizant of the time, up to 3 minutes, please.
I'd like to ask if members of the fire board are in attendance this evening.
Yes, there are members of the fire board in attendance.
And may we understand who they are, please?
Julie Stein and the general manager, Bill Hansel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, somebody's hand was up and I may have mistakenly taken it down instead of taking Anthony Knight's hand down. So let me see. Okay, Steve Simmerin, I think that is your hand. You should be able to unmute yourself and go ahead and make your comment.
And my comment is, I apologize if I'm unfamiliar with the matter, but I see there's a matter on the calendar to spend $19,000 on stairs in this, I assume it's the public
So
safety.
we're not at that item yet. Oh, it's a consent calendar item. You're correct. Yes.
Okay, so my question is, if the police are going to be leaving the building, why do they want to spend $19,000 on the building?
I will answer that, I guess, if I can, which is that item, if you look at it carefully, is for stair repairs to stairs that go from Highland Avenue down into the park.
All right, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Director Nagel is here. He's with the fire board. I didn't see that. And maybe that's why he's raising his hand, but I'm going to give him a chance to speak anyway. You should be able to talk, Director Nagel.
Thank you, Sylvia. I just wanted to know, I did not hear an announcement from the closed session. Was there anything that happened in the closed session? Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. I apologize for that. Yes, the only item from the closed session that we've just come from is that we have given direction to our lead negotiator. That's it for public comment related to items not on the agenda or for consent calendar items. I'm going to go back to the, okay. Second. Okay. Since no board member or general manager pulled items from the consent calendar, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the items on the consent calendar with, which are a contract with FJ&I Engineering for stair repairs. These are stairs that go from Highland Avenue down into the park. These were budgeted, and Rick, if you want to provide any more detail on that, you can. And then there are 2 sets of minutes and a financial report for September.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and take a roll, please, on that.
Director Deppie,
Yes.
Director Logan,
Yes.
President Natoli,
Yes.
Director Sharis Watt,
Yes.
and President Hassai.
Yes.
Carries 5-0.
The first item on our agenda for discussion and action is the policy and procedure manual. This was something we brought back, and I'm going to let the general counsel and Danforth introduce the item.
Yes, Madam President, thank you very much. This item, of course, has been before the board now a number of times. Most recently, it came before the board in August 12 and was continued then. The board had raised several questions and flagged some concerns and asked that it come back. So I have addressed in the most recent draft, which you'll see in the red line that came out earlier this evening, most of those questions. There's a discussion in there of holiday and sick pay for the chief that was the subject of some discussion at the August meeting. This has been a matter of some internal discussion over the last few days, because honestly, I personally didn't know how matters had been left with the current chief of police. And I have since learned that we indeed provided an offer letter which covered these issues. So the policy and procedures manual is superseded by employment agreements. So the fact that we have a signed offer outlining these terms moots the question, so to speak. However, Director Natoli called to my attention this afternoon that we still have an outside issue with respect to the lieutenant. The lieutenant is not covered by the MOU, but presumably has been and expects to continue receiving benefits, including paid leave. So I did try before the meeting to ascertain what in fact he was given to understand he would receive and what in fact he has been receiving. I was not able to find out that information. I would suggest that whatever he's been receiving, we document in some sort of agreement so that he would also be taken outside of these provisions that were flagged again last August. And perhaps the finance director or the general manager could respond to those questions. As for other changes, there have been some not terribly substantial changes made to the document by Director Sharis Watt in consultation with Eileen Natoli. They're not huge, but I do want to call them to your attention because they were not in the red line that was distributed on Monday. And they all have a somewhat similar theme. The current draft, and these are all in policy 3000, provide for discipline after 2 days of unreported absence. Excuse me, the current draft provides for discipline after 3 days of unreported absence and deems the employee to have voluntarily separated from employment with the town after 3 days, three consecutive days of unreported absence. Director Sharis Watt has suggested that we replace all of these from 3 to 2 days. So I leave that to the board's discretion. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If you would like me to walk through the August 12 staff report, I'd be happy to do that as well. After all of your questions have been answered, I'm going to recommend that you take public comment, discuss, and I hope adopt the resolution that is before you, which would adopt the consolidated policy and procedures manual and allow us to take the old manual and the various individual policies off the website to avoid future confusion.
Director Sherswat has her hand up. Oh, and before that, we do that, I suppose, whether or not the general manager or Lisa, our new finance director, would like to answer general counsel's question about the lieutenant.
I don't know the status of what has been promised or what is currently being done with the lieutenant. We were looking at the chief and didn't get that question till a little bit later today. So I don't have an answer for you at this time.
Lisa, do you?
I would concur that the question came a little late in the afternoon, and I need a little bit more time to research documentation, and the chief can certainly assist me with that. And if it's something that we don't have or can't find, then, and is it my understanding that you want us to get something in writing as soon as possible if we don't already have something that we can locate?
Well, here's my concern. If the board moves forward and adopts the policy and procedures manual that is before them, the lieutenant would only be entitled to, well, sick leave benefits, yes, but no paid vacation leave at all and no other benefits. And I'm sure that was no one's intention.
Right.
So I would like to put something in the policy and procedures manual that notes that, that the lieutenant, as an unrepresented employee, is entitled to get whatever it is that he has been receiving. And that could be as simple as modifying, excuse me one moment, policy 3110, the first paragraph, to state that these policies, rules and regulations are applicable to all district employees that are not part of a collective bargaining unit, except to the extent that it is inconsistent, or excuse me, they are inconsistent with any pre-existing employment agreement or other board action. And all that does is say if the board or some agreement has given an employee benefits that are not in the personnel in the policy manual, that employee would continue to receive them.
Yes, yeah, okay. So
that's the problem, in other words, assuming that we have some documentation that
I would assume that, yeah, I would assume that the chief absolutely has some documentation. I was not able to connect with him earlier today just because of schedules this afternoon, but certainly I will get with him first thing in the morning and have an answer for you by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
then it's up to the board to decide whether or not it wants to change that language that I just mentioned in order to create a carve out for existing agreements and other board actions.
Okay, Director Sherswat.
So I proposed a series of changes that some of which are not included in our final draft. And unfortunately, I asked our counsel about them and we were not able to connect, and the response came too late. So for me, other board members can decide to pass this, but I will request that this be brought back next month so that I can discuss final changes that I had hoped were going to appear in this draft. So I'm sorry, but that's
Council,
what happened.
is that oversight or are there reasons why those were not included?
Apparently, and I don't pretend to have computer mastery to understand this, I sent a red line to the clerk showing all of the changes that I had made at Director Sherswat's request. There were a couple that she requested that I did not make, and I was hoping, she might want to discuss them tonight. I thought there was more of a board decision to make. However, it is true that the original document that came out on Monday, the red line, did not show any of Director Sherswat's changes. And I think that was because of a technical problem when the clerk attempted to convert the Word document that I sent her to a PDF. Somehow the more recent redlining dropped out. I don't know how, I don't know why.
Director Sherswat, do you know what those changes are and could they be incorporated in our consideration this evening?
Well, I could go through page by page. We could read it aloud. Unfortunately, I did not keep my final list. I gave that to Anne. I kept my notes, but.
So the answer is not.
No, I would prefer not to. If I had found out earlier in the day, I would have spent time, but unfortunately, I was assuming perhaps it was my error and that I was missing what was online. and I
Okay.
didn't want to, yeah.
Unfortunately, it did take me some time to figure out that with the clerk's assistants what had gone wrong. You do have in the documents that have been provided to you earlier this afternoon, you do have a red line and a clean version showing those changes, with the exception of the two that I mentioned. However, if everyone would be more comfortable putting this off another to the next meeting, I would certainly understand that.
Director Deppie's hand is up, as well as General Manager Benson. Director Deppie?
Yeah, I'd say let's wait until we've got something on Monday that's a clean red line. There's no more changes. Everybody agrees that's it. I really don't want to go back and forth. I think it's much better, both for the public as well. Let's get it out even before the Monday. But a clean red line, double check it before you post it, make sure it all looks good, and then get it out as soon as possible. Then certainly no later than the Monday before the meeting, and then we can all be comfortable, us and the public, that we're looking at the same thing and talking about apples and apples. And I'd feel much more comfortable that way.
If the board wishes, and if no one on the board thinks that they're going to have any further changes, I can ask the clerk to put the two drafts on the website tomorrow. And that would certainly give everyone ample time to look at both the red line and the clean copy.
Well, I don't know. Does that satisfy Rochelle? Rochelle, I maybe might want to look at it before.
Well, I would request that all the changes that Eileen and I suggested are on the red line. And then clearly that
They aren't. They're not all the ones. Okay.
There are two that are not, and I'd be happy to discuss those with you and tell you why I thought that we might want to hold back on putting them in the draft.
Well, I think that's not a board decision. The board should decide, I'm happy for the board to decide that they're not acceptable if they're within legal parameters. And then clearly we would need something added for Lieutenant Harms.
All right, if there's a disagreement over including something from the council's point of view, then I think that should be left out and brought to the entire board's attention.
I can
Discuss
certainly
and adopt.
I can certainly put the requested changes that did not make it into the draft into the staff report and flag them in that way for board discussion.
Okay, that would be helpful. Director Deppie, your hand was up.
Well, just as long as, if you're not going to put it in the document, if it's going to be in the staff report, just so it's really clear what the final document would look like. If it's just some extra sentences, that's great. But if it involves contextual issues and maybe other parts of the policy and procedure manual that have to be modified, then that might be problematic, because then we're back at the square one where we don't have a clean final version to say yay or nay against. So,
well, the changes, the two changes that I have in mind, one of them just simply simply involves the deletion of a sentence, and the other, I wasn't entirely clear actually if Director Sheriff wanted me to delete the sentence or merely explain it. So I admit that I didn't have complete clarity on that one.
right. As long as it's really obvious what the final P&P manual needs to look like, so we don't have to spend half an hour discussing how to meld it in there.
Well, I would note that once it's well and truly over and done, we're going to need to go back in and fix the table of contents. There's really no point in doing that until we've finalized it. But other than that, we should be able to get the final documents.
So
Yeah.
am I getting general consensus among all board members that we agree to table this item till the next meeting?
Yes.
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 So this item will be tabled until our December meeting. Thanks. I know this is a big lift and it's a lot. It's a big document. We're trying to get it right. So I appreciate everyone's patience and attention to detail. Our next item will be brought forward by the general manager and the chief of police. It is an item that relates to a retention bonus for officers continuing to serve. This is a continuation of a discussion that we've had over the last couple of meetings, and we felt it was important to bring this to this public meeting today. So General Manager Benson, if you want to start, or if you want the chief to start.
I'll start it off. Again, as you pointed out, this was brought up as part of an overall thought process where we were looking at a bonus, a signing bonus for new officers. And we did want to recognize our current officers because it is such a competitive market. There are people trying to recruit our current officers out from under us right now. So this proposal is a retention bonus, which is very similar to the signing bonus that the new officers have. And it's fairly simple and self-explanatory. As they meet certain milestones and stay with us, we would give them bonus payments on various dates. February 1st of 2022 would be the first bonus, and that changed from what we had before. Just wanted to bring that up. Much like other things, nothing happens during the holidays. So really no one would be leaving during the holiday time. So we felt that February 1st was a good time in case someone wants to make a change in January and gets recruited away. But other than that, it's $2,000 every 6 months for a period of 2.5 years. And that would bring that to a $10,000 bonus for the current officers. The chief is in concurrence with this. The officers are excited about this, and I think it absolutely is important for your board to do whatever you can within reason to maintain the officers that you have on force. Later, we will do a staff report. The chief will tell you already that the signing bonus has paid off already, which is a good thing, but I'd sure hate to lose an officer over this type of thing. So I do recommend that your board approve this $10,000 retention bonus for the current officers serving.
Thank you. Chief, would you like to add anything to the discussion right now?
Good morning, good evening, everybody. General Manager Benson has said it all. I do agree and support 100% the retention bonus for the current employees that we have. And again, I would just reiterate, this is a one-time thing. And at the moment, it only affects 2 officers that are employed with the district. They right now are the only people eligible for it. At most, 3 people would be eligible for that bonus and nothing more than that.
Thank you.
Signing bonus has gone a long way. We have a new officer that started on Monday. We have an officer that's starting on November 29th, and I've extended conditional offers of employment to 2 other applicants, and that's based on their ability to complete a background investigation. So it has been very successful. I never thought we'd be as far as we are, as fast as we've come. So I thank you very much, you and General Manager Benson, for that hiring bonus.
Thank you. That is good news indeed. And General Manager Benson, just one last thing on your report. Could you outline the fiscal implications?
I'm sorry.
You had mentioned in a previous meeting that because of just the way the salaries were working, that there would be no real impact on the budget. Is that still correct?
Correct. Based on the number of vacancies that we've carried already throughout this year, we have more than enough in budgeted already to cover the potential cost of this throughout the entire 3-year period. So you already have salary savings, significant salary savings that could cover this.
Thank you. I'm going to go to public comment on this item, and then we'll have a final board discussion. And any attendees wish to comment? David Bergen, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just had a question regarding officers. I understand we lost 2 officers. Is that correct? And who were the officers that we lost?
Thank Any other questions or comments before we address any comments or questions from the board? I will go ahead and if the chief would like to answer that question, that's fine. We've discussed that in previous meetings, so I don't see any harm if there's any issue with that.
Yeah, I could answer that question. I don't mind. They've both have, one has given me a 2-week notice, and the other one is still in the background process of, not the background process. Well, I guess it is the background process with the other organization. But the 2 officers that are moving on are Officer Tamika Fodor and Officer Roy Bang. They've accepted employment with other organizations. So we wish them the best. They're really good employees and we'd welcome them back anytime.
Thank you. Okay, any more board comments or discussion? Okay. I am very excited about this, but I'm going to let someone else make a motion if they'd like, since I made a couple already. But anybody want to make the motion? Rachel, Director Sheriff Watt? You're muted.
I'll make the
Sorry,
motion.
trying to, oh, go ahead, Mike, please. I'll second you. So go ahead, Mike. I'll let you do it.
Okay. I make the motion that we put forth Rick's recommendation and approve this and approve this proposal. Is that
So
how
the
it should
motion
say it?
is to- I think that your motion is to approve a retention bonus for officers continuing to serve in the Kensington Police Department, which was outlined in the staff report.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk to take the roll.
Director Debbie,
Yes.
Director Logan,
Yes.
Vice President Natoli,
Yes.
Director Sheriff Watt,
Yes.
President Thigh.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. And the last item, judging by the email traffic, is the exciting item on the day. And I would concur that I'm excited about this item. I'm going to quell my enthusiasm and let the general manager bring forth the amendment to the Bayview refuse agreement, please.
Madam President, members of the board, before you is an amendment to the franchise agreement with Bayview. Bayview Refuse and Recycling Services Incorporated, who is your current hauler of waste. The whole purpose, the whole reason for this amendment is what's behind it is Senate Bill 1383. It was approved in 2016 by the California legislature. And what that does is require every community, everyone in California, with very few exceptions, to recycle organic waste, not just yard waste, but kitchen waste and other organic waste. In order to do that, well, we've been in negotiations with the hauler. And the good side of this is we are not inventing the wheel. Many other communities are already there, already doing it. The other positive you have in this community is Contra Costa County and the waste haulers that are out there have already set up a program and established it. So all we really need to do now is to piggyback on the good work that other folks have done and bring this. So in order to do that, we have a proposed amendment to the franchise agreement, and it is outlined in the staff report. It's much more than just bringing organic recycling to the Kensington community. And I'd like to just point out the major features, because really this is an increase in service for the people of Kensington with a very modest price tag attached to it. With this amendment, all organics will now be processed in compliance with Senate Bill 1383. The Senate bill has a compliance date of January 1st. We will be in compliance as of February 1st, but there will not be a problem with Cal Recycle on that, because we have taken, if we take this step. Residential customers within Kensington will now be provided with trash bins, as is the practice in most everywhere else throughout the state. There will be a bin for organics, which will include kitchen organics as well as green waste, a bin for recyclables, plastics and paper, that type of thing, and a bin for regular other trash, what's left of it, though I know that that's going to be decreasing considerably. Bayview Refuse will still collect additional organic waste, green waste, from Kensington residents if they exceed the capacity of the bin. So a lot of this agreement has no change involved. So people are used to, if they are generating a lot of yard waste and it's currently being picked up, it will continue. Bayview Refuse will still provide backdoor service where requested. And that's almost a misnomer here in Kensington. What is considered, now many people do take advantage of the backdoor service, but in other communities, what you call backdoor service is what people have come to expect here. In most other places, you put your bin out on the curb, and if the truck can't get to your bin with their big arms to pick it up, the truck just moves on, and then the waste does not get collected. That is not what is being done here in Kensington. There are many places, because of the parking situation and the hills that you have, where the driver is going and actually picking up the bin directly from the residents. And that will continue. Whenever possible, it'll be great to use the bins and use the arms, but the service level is not proposed to be changed. The other change that is necessary due to this is organics. Because of the nature of what's going in there, your green waste will now be picked up once a week. So this is an increase in service as well. Prior to this, it was every 2 weeks for organics, and then some people couldn't remember which week they were on as far as for green waste. The green waste and the other organics will be collected weekly. Also, the hauler has agreed to phase in a household hazardous waste program so that people won't have to go and bring their household waste to a collection site. It will be collected from the residences, and that's going to be phased in and will be completely operational by August of 2022. That's an additional service that's included as part of this agreement. In order to help the company amortize the cost of the bins and other expenses that they will be incurring, the agreement, it is recommended that the agreement be extended by 3 years till August 31st, 2026. The current agreement is scheduled to end in 2023. This is a 3-year agreement. But kind of hand in hand with that, anytime after August 31st, 2024, either the hauler or the district, if they think that there is some problem with the rates, if the district feels the rates are too high, if the hauler feels the rates are too low, we can request a rate audit, and that would be to protect the district if it's felt that the rates have gone up too high, or if, and vice versa for the hauler. So after August 31st, 2024, if everyone, if either party wants to have a rate review, that can be put into effect. Now, the cost of this, well, at this time, we are requesting a 10% increase over what the current rates are. And that would cover all of the expanded service, including the cost of the bins. But I did want to note that based on the terms of the current agreement, the hauler is entitled at this time to a 3.7% rate increase to be effective January 1. So when we're looking at a 10%, essentially for these additional services, we're looking at, a math teacher would say it's not quite 6.3%. But they're essentially the 6.3% rate increase would provide for all the additional levels of service. That includes the recycling, the bins, and the additional pickup of green waste on a much more regular basis. I've worked together with the hauler. I've also looked at other areas. I consulted with probably the state guru on this. And I believe that the people of Kensington are getting good value from their trash hauler. I've heard that the hauler provides good service. And based on the emails, it looks like many in your community are anxious to get on board with the state proposal for the recycling of organic waste. One thing I did want to mention, although your board had made a statement earlier that you were not interested in a waiver, technically, we could apply for a waiver. We do qualify to apply for a waiver, but I find it would be very unlikely that Cal Recycle would grant a waiver to this community. If you're small community and you don't generate a lot of waste, you're able to get a waiver, or you can apply for a waiver. But that is really aimed and directed at really isolated communities that have no alternatives or very expensive alternatives in order to comply. So I don't believe that looking at a waiver would actually be something that Cal Recycle would grant, although we are technically within the small category of entities that could apply for it. So it's my recommendation that your board approve this amendment to the franchise agreement. We have representatives from Bayview are here. I believe they're here. I don't have access to who's in attendance.
Yes,
But I think either Greg or Kim Christie is here. If anyone has any questions regarding their service or the fine points of what's going to be provided. And I'd be happy to answer any questions to the extent I can.
I think in this case, I'd like to have board ask any questions first, because what we ask may clarify things for the public, and then we'll go to public comment. So Director Sheriff Watts, hands up.
I just want to say, well, thank you, General Manager Benson, but I think that I want to recognize before we even get started, the tremendous amount of work that Vice President Natoli did when she was board president to get us to this point, and that President Hassai has done to continue to the issue this year. So thank you to you both. And I would like the board perhaps to consider, should we pass this item this evening, talking in the next month about uses of franchise fee monies, perhaps to offset some of the costs or help residents who may be concerned about the additional expense. So, but thank you, GM Benson.
Thank you. Any other?
And if I can just, I didn't know everyone who did all the work before I got here, but yes, it was already that I had a good blueprint to follow here. So I really appreciate that.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions for the general manager? Okay, I'm going to move to public comment. Can anybody who wants to comment on this, please raise their hand. I know there's a lot of interest, and depending on how many hands go up, I may have to limit comments from slightly less than 3 minutes, because we won't get to everybody. Okay. I think if folks would try to stick to maybe 2 minutes so that we can hear from everybody that wants to speak. And I'll go ahead and start. Okay. First person to speak would be Julie Stein. Julie, go ahead.
Thank you, Sylvia. I just have one question, and I'm wondering if you could clarify whether we will continue to have unlimited recycling. I know that you said that this was an amendment, so I don't know if that changes what we already have, or if our recycling is going to change to just being one of the supplied bins, or if we can continue to put out extra trash cans with recycling. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hold on one second. Rick, I don't know if you know the answer to that question. If you want to, I know that Greg Christie is here, and I could ask him to answer that question if you'd like. I guess I'll promote Greg to panelist at the moment. Give me 1 second.
It's my understanding there won't be a change, but Greg can clarify.
That would be my understanding too. Go ahead, Greg, you can speak now.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Yes, no, nothing would change with the recycling. It still would be unlimited. It's always been, it's as it has been. So if we have the blue bin for the recycling, then, and you have extra, you'll be able to put it in, extra cans out for that too. I mean, we could, if somebody is a big time recycler, we could even provide them with a second card if they wanted.
Okay, thank you. I'll just mute you from time to time, and let's see, I'll keep you there though. All right, next would be Anthony Knight. You should be able to speak by unmuting, Anthony.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Well, anytime that I've been involved in a discussion of waste disposal, the issue of compostables has been front and center. And Mr. Benson's presentation did not mention compostables unless I missed it. He used the term organic waste, which to me is kitchen scraps. And what is my concern is the plastic bags that are now available that are compostable, and the cardboard and all the rest of it. That, at least in what I've heard this evening, has been left out.
Okay, I will have Greg Christie answer your question. Greg, could you talk about that a little bit?
Yep, no, the compostables and organics are all the same. I mean, I think it's like it's a buzzword that changes here over the last couple of years, but I mean, we went from green waste being the buzzword to compostables, and now it's organics. And I think SB 1383.
Oh, sorry, you muted yourself, Greg, I think. Go ahead. Yeah, there you are.
So did you get
said
most of that?
You said something about SB 83.
Yeah, SB 1383, it covers organics, and that's kind of the word that's being said quite a bit now. And so it's that referring to compostables and green waste is organic. So organics covers everything. So that you'll be able to put lawn clippings, tree branches, stuff from your garden, food waste. It'll all be able to go into the green bin.
And things like okay, so I'm sure, and I know that part of the this contract and this amendment requires Bayview to do a lot of educating of the community. I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that maybe in a separate question, but I'm going to keep going because we have a lot of folks who want to comment. Janet Parks, you're next.
Thank you. I'm a homeowner and part of a house full of 7. During the decade I've lived in Kensington, I always had my own home composting system because I understand how harmful it is when food waste gets jammed into a landfill, producing methane. It also wastes precious space when all of that could be used instead to produce compost, which is good stuff for plants. So I am completely in favor of your approving the contract amendment with Bay Area Refuse. When you take that step, I'll be really happy to give up my home system because, well, I'll be happy to comply with California law. And more importantly, I'll be happy to put in so many more things into the organic waste than I could with my home system. Cooked starches, bones and fats, napkins and pizza boxes, and so many things that I couldn't normally compost. So thank you for doing this work and addressing it quickly and being so close to the deadline. I have one question, if I can ask it, and that is, will residents have access to compost?
Yep.
And
Oops, sorry. Go ahead. I unmuted you by mistake. Go ahead. I think I got your question. You can unmute if you have more.
I just wanted to thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I believe that that's something that I know that I don't believe that we as Kensington are gonna be able to manage, but maybe Greg has some thoughts about, is there a place that residents could get compost?
We could actually do a commute, bring it back. We've done this before, and so we could bring some compost back to a certain area, and then people could come get it. We could do it on a Saturday, or we could, make arrangements to people. I mean, we've done, with some other commercial customers where they wanted some compost, and we arranged to get it and then haul it back to, the larger bins. So yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would that something we have to work on an amendment, or that be just sort of an event that we work out with you kind of, twice a year or once a year type thing?
We could work it out, no problem. I mean, we could, make it part of the public outreach.
That would be great. I think definitely some people raise that, and I know folks had hoped that we could do something like that, but that's really beyond, I believe, our resources. So thank you for that. Please make note of that, General Manager. And thank you, Janet, for your questions. And we're going to move on to the next person, which is Katie Brohan. Katie, you can go ahead and speak.
Hi, everyone. I'll just keep it really short. Kensington resident here. I just want to say I encourage you all to adopt the revised Bayview waste contract so we can come into compliance with SB 1383 and do our part to combat climate change. And thank you all for considering it.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to go to Cara Gillen next. Cara, you can get on unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm really excited to see this on the agenda. I've been waiting for this. My family moved to Kensington about 2.5 years ago, and we love it here. And we're also very shocked that there's no curbside organics collection. We've been composting in the Bay Area since 2003 curbside, so it's second nature. And because of that big change, we've been hauling our organics to my mother-in-law's, to friends, to El Cerrito, to Berkeley and Albany, as I have found out that many other Kensington residents do, and we would like to not have to do that anymore. Thank you for that. Also, as we know, we're in climate trouble. Just last week at the COP26 climate conference in Glasgow, Biden called out on methane specifically and our needs to decrease it. It's 21 times more potent than CO2. When organic materials go to landfills, they release methane. When they're in compost facility and it's an aerobic process, they do not. We need to do our part in Kensington to reduce that. I'm happy to pay more for this service. We're seeing the costs other ways in wildfires and higher insurance, and we see the costs one way or another. So I'm happy to do this. I thank you so much, and I encourage you to vote on the approved amended contract.
Thank you. Kevin Naparko is next. Kevin, you should be able to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey everyone, thank you for taking my comment. My name is Kevin Naparko. I want to encourage the board to approve the proposed amendment here tonight. This rate hike is a very small price to pay to prevent additional methane from being released, which will further warm our planet. I want to add that our family really appreciates all of the great work that General Manager Benson has done. Great diligence here, amazing negotiations. I think this is a win-win-win for Kensington, and our family fully supports the amendment. We do not want to waiver it, and we urge the board to approve it tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Delk, you are up next. I have given you permission to talk. You may unmute yourself.
Hi, A. Stevens Delk. The proposed amendments only affect Bayview residential customers, but under SB 1383, businesses must be provided with food waste composting. Since 2016, Kensington has been required to offer this service to some businesses per AB 1826, the mandatory commercial organics recycling bill, but still nothing is being done. Restaurants, grocery stores, and businesses including apartment complexes, represent about 2% of BV's customers, but probably produce 10 to 20% of Kensington's garbage. And at least 6 of these produce a lot of food waste. In section 4.2 of the agreement, which covers commercial accounts and is not being amended, it says that restaurants will have to subscribe to additional service to have food waste collected with green waste and to pay extra. But apparently this does not apply to grocery stores. According to BV's reports, 2 years ago, some businesses used to use 1 to 2 cubic yard dumpsters for garbage, but they have been switched to 95-gallon carts, ranging from 2 to 10 per week, with some businesses 2 pickups per week. But the rate schedule that you give is only for per 1 yard, which is about 200 gallons, about $60 a month, just 10% more than one resident pays for a 32-gallon cart. In addition to amending Section 4.1 for residential services, Section 4.2 for commercial services needs to be addressed, and commercial rates change to reflect actual service levels. Other than that, I'm glad you're doing it.
Thank you. I think that is very interesting information, things that I was not aware of, and I am actually curious, Greg, if you could comment a little bit on that.
Yeah, the commercial accounts will be included, are part of the Kensington contract, so they'll be included in it. We've worked with Cal Recycle, and they've checked, they do an audit of the service levels, and we have to provide them with information about the multifamily, and then the threshold for there was 1826 threshold, I believe it was, just dropped down, or 347, I think just 341 just dropped down to the 2 yard level here just recently. So it started back, I think, in 2014 or 15, and they slowly started rolling out, and there wasn't any businesses in Kensington that met the recycling threshold and stuff. But now we are, but they'll be part of this service, and there's not a problem with it. And their rates will just change accordingly to what they have now. And they'll be some businesses all businesses have recycling, some businesses have, specific cardboard bins. And I think there's 1 or 2 that have green waste, and then everybody will have green waste with this going forward.
Thank you.
Organics.
Thank you. So we have another person who wants to talk. That's Crystal Rietzel. And Crystal, you should go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. I also support the revised Bayview waste contract so that we can come into compliance with SB 1383. As a composter, I know the difficulties of composting correctly, and that it's not something everybody wants to or can do. And our family still has a sizable amount of waste that needs to be diverted. Pizza boxes, compostable packaging, chicken bones, expired food. We want to do our part to fight the climate crisis, and this is a huge way that we can do so. I want a livable world for myself, my children, and future generations. Thank you.
Very much. Linnea Du is next, and you may unmute yourself, Linnea.
Hi, I have a similar question to Julie's, which is that I clear this giant storm drain that's in front of my house. And at the beginning of the rainy season, I sometimes clear 8 big garbage cans full of debris that's been washed down into that storm drain. So my concern is that the green waste, you can generate as much green waste as you want, correct?
That is correct. That was discussed, I think, in General Manager Benson's presentation, and that is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. Yes, that's an important thing for all of Kensington, given our fire risk as well. Okay, next up would be Ingrid Urzin. And Ingrid, you should be able to unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for everyone who's worked on this fantastic proposal. I am a lifelong Kensington resident and now raising my 2 kids in Kensington as well. And just want to encourage the board to approve this proposed amendment as soon as possible, hopefully tonight, for all the reasons that have been discussed already. But given COP going on right now, especially, I want my kids to feel proud of the community that they're living in. And I feel like we have the ability and the political willpower to pass this tonight. And just want to urge us to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Amy Dramel is next. You go ahead and unmute yourself and you'll be able to speak.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to thank the board for taking this up this evening, and along with the many other residents speaking tonight, I wanted to encourage the board to pass this amendment this evening. We've been composting since we moved here about 8 years ago, and taking it, as one of the other callers said she did, to all of the surrounding towns where we have friends and family living. So we're really excited to be able to have this service just outside our own homes. So really strongly support this change, and so happy that the board is taking it up now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call for speakers. I see one more hand up, which I'm going to call on, and that is Len Welsh. Len, you should be able to unmute yourself to speak.
Hi, folks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, I want to thank you all for moving this forward. This is long overdue, and it's being done right. I want to thank specifically Eileen and you, Sylvia, and Rick Benson. I haven't met you, but I know you've been working on this, and I really appreciate it. Mostly, I want to thank Bayview, who's provided this community excellent service for a very long time. Once upon a time when I was on the board and there was talk about getting a different contractor to serve Kensington, I had a little meeting on a Saturday with a huge crowd, and the message I got was people didn't want anybody else because Bayview's service was so good. And it continues to be good. We get wonderful service from them. And I'm just so happy to see that we're going forward with this contract. We'll never see a contractor this good in the future. So I hope you all can approve this contract, and I thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Okay, that is the end of our public comment. And I see that General Manager Benson's hand is up, so I'd like to give him an opportunity to go ahead and speak.
I would like to address that point about the commercial. If we have missed something in the contractual language, then we will come back and we will have a chance to correct that. I know the intention was to fully include the commercial customers within this. And so if we miss something, I'll be consulting with council to give me a recommendation to perhaps make another change to the agreement, but that definitely was the intention. I also want to chime in as far as working with Bayview. They've been excellent people to work with. And I've really enjoyed the interaction we've had and the cooperation we've had. And finally, I forgot to mention this at the very beginning, but just as a point of reference, the community where I live, we had a headline in the paper about coming into compliance with this Senate bill. And we are being prepared and prepped for a 71% increase in our trash collection rates here in order to come into compliance. So it's a combination of things where you're at, including your county did a lot of good work and the haulers have done a lot of good work. But I just wanted to let you know where I live, they tell me next year I'm going to pay 71% more for us to come into compliance with that Senate bill.
Thank you. Well, thank you also, Greg. I'm going to just put you back ahead into the audience. So just go give me a moment. And I would like to say that just personally, I remember very clearly in 2016 when I was walking Kensington to run for office, a house on Plateau Drive. I still know exactly where it is. I was invited in to speak with the residents, and they had moved from Berkeley. And that was my first interaction with a resident who brought up that issue to me as a candidate. So while some folks on the call think we've done this quickly, we have worked at it diligently, but it has taken a while. We've had lots of other things to tackle, but I agree that Director Natoli, of all people on the board, really worked hard to move this forward, and many members of the community, Lisa Cole and others, have been involved in this for a long time. So I know that just on carts alone, they can range from $65 to $90 each. So I can't stress enough that I am in support of this contract. Does any other board member want to make a comment or ask a question before we go to a potential motion? Director Sherris-Watt.
Oh, I just also want to note, thank you to Len Welsh, who was board president and did shepherd the original contract in 2014 for the board to then vote on, which this is just an extension of. And thank you, Len, because that contract has served us in great stead throughout my tenure on the board. And I really appreciate his work.
Thank you. And I also want to give a shout out to Bayview from everything from just, I find them very courteous. And I know a lot of parents with small children, they are very attentive to the kids who wave to them from the building, from the windows, and on and so on. So, all right. Is anybody, Eileen, I almost want to invite you, if I can, to make the motion if you are so inclined.
That's okay.
Okay, well, I will then take it upon myself to make a motion that we approve the proposed amendment to the franchise agreement with Bayview Refuse and Recycling Services and authorize the signature of that amendment, authorizing the board president to do so.
I'll second it.
Okay, and the clerk will call the roll.
Directors Debbie,
Yes.
Director Logan,
Yes.
Vice President Natoli,
Yes.
Director Sherris-Watt,
Yes.
President Hussey.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Well, congratulations to Bayview and the community for taking a great step forward. I agree, during this time of COP26, it is quite worked out. It kind of was happenstance that it worked out that way, but it's quite fitting. So now we move to the time of evening where we allow for just general director comments. Anyone have anything they want to announce to the community or to the other board members? Any reports? Director Sherris-Watt.
I just want to thank Chief Gankaz. It should be noted that right now we have 100% vaccination rate with the KPD and our staff. So in total, so thank you. I learned of a high school classmate and police officer who was unvaccinated and died last week that I knew, and so I really appreciate all of our staff being so proactive.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. General Manager Benson was by my side the entire time as we were communicating with the officers, so it was a team effort.
I would like to just let folks know in the community that there is an event this Thursday that was originally advertised as Shreds and Meds. Shred and Meds, a collection. I believe it's going to happen in the parking lot as usual for a shredding event. It was also supposed to be a collection of expired or just medicines folks wanted to get rid of. For whatever reason, the medication part of that event is not happening. We are trying to communicate that out to the community. So if you were planning to participate in that event on the 13th, medications will not be part of that. There'll be another event arranged for that. General Manager Benson, would you like to report anything or have any comments?
Well, I had intended at this point to let the chief communicate with you folks and let you know where he stood with the recruitment of officers. I don't know if the chief has anything else that he wanted to bring up because he kind of snuck it in there earlier. And then I have a couple of things after that.
Well, thank you, sir. I did mention earlier We did have an officer start on Monday, and we have another officer starting on the 29th. I've extended conditional offers to 2 more applicants. If I had to thank anybody or besides the board for the generous hiring bonus, it is Sergeant Amit Nath and Lieutenant Brad Harms. Those 2 individuals are predominantly responsible for bringing the officers to Kensington and delivering a great message to entice them to apply for the position and come on board. So they deserve all of the credit in terms of locating, finding, and pre-screening these officers applicants. So that's just what I wanted to add. And again, thank you for the bonus to help us get there.
Thank you. And thank you, of course, to those officers. General Manager Benson.
First of all, I became aware that the rumor mill was running through the community, that the community center was a real disaster after the recent rains. And there were lots of thoughts and stories running around. That is not the case. The community center took on water during the heavy rains. The water came in through the floor area due to a plugged up drain. Within hours, it was mopped up, cleaned up. Might have to wax the floors again, but that was the extent of the damage. We did have some leakage around one of the skylights. Again, I was hearing that, it was massive leaking. It was a drip, drip, drip during the heavy rain. That's still not right. We believe that should be covered under the warranty, the work that was done, and we're going to pursue getting that taken care of so that the one skylight that was leaking won't be leaking anymore. We are in the process within days of getting a notice out to get the community center back open for reservations. First, we're going to be approaching those community groups that your board addressed last month with those rates and let them get their reservations in. Then we'll be opening up to everyone to be able to get reservations and make the community center operate as it has in the past, of course, following all the COVID restrictions. We're in part able to do this because we have brought on a temporary part-time administrative assistant who started yesterday. No, started today. And that's right. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, she started today, and she's very excited about joining us and working with us. And she'll be able to help us make sure we get a lot of those little things that we haven't been able to do and haven't been getting done are going to be getting done. And we will be back operating the community center as it was intended. So that's what I have for now, unless there's any other questions.
Okay. Well, thank you. And our next regular meeting will be held on December 9th. And that will be the last regular meeting of the year. And remind our board members that we will be having to, per our practice and policy and procedure manual, at least that's how it used to be, to select leadership of the board for next year, president and vice president. So be thinking about that. If we have any meetings between now and then, we may allow for some time for discussion before we act on that on December 9th. Thank you and good evening, everybody.